Welcome to the Thought Brothers. I'm Gary Johnson, aka Mr. Producer. Fast-paced week. I'm gonna throw it over to the banker. Interest rates are going up. So's Carlos stock. Carlos, talk to us, brother. What we got?
Come on, guys. What's happening tonight, man? Look, I'm telling you right now, we got interest rates on the rise. So if you're trying to buy a home, you might want to hold off. But if you're trying to, get some interest on those savings accounts, man, life is looking good for you this time of the year. So keep that in mind. But what goes up must come down. So we'll see if it ever happens. Because right now, the people who are more established in the country right now, who have the money, who are retired and just want to make some extra interest, they love it. They're loving the fact the rate's going up. The young people who trying to get established, trying to buy a house and buy a car, say, oh, Lord, my payment is going to be through the roof with these interest rates. You can't do that. So, I would just say, look at all your options. Try to take advantage of those 0% offers. You know what I'm saying? And you got to just be smart with everything you do. You got to decide now. I mean, based on your situation. But some people are benefiting from this situation and some. With that being said, man, hey, look, get everybody started on a crazy topic right now. Gun violence. Gun violence has not gone away. Gun violence is striking across the country. Gun violence is still everything as disturbing as it was when we talked about it 3 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever the case may be. It's crazy, man. So what I want to really talk about and stress on this is this. You have to just simply watch your back. You can't expect anything to any situation to be extremely safe, because what we're finding out with gun violence, it's not just happening in neighborhoods that have high crime. It's not just happening in a domestic one-on-one situation. Okay. If a guy parks his car in the wrong place in his own neighborhood, he can get shot. If a guy just happens to stop by a birthday party on 8th Street in Washington, D.C., he can get caught in the crossfire. You have to really think about everything that's going on around you. I mean, like the old football adage is keep your head on a swivel. You pretty much have to keep your head on a swivel. I'm not going to say it's like the Wild Wild West, but it's not getting better. I think that I'm a Democrat. One of the things I will say, when I remember the Joe Biden administration, unfortunately, I'm going to remember it for being, it seems like we're having more shootings. Now, is the online presence just that more prevalent now during Joe Biden's administration than it was during Donald Trump's or Barack Obama's? Okay. I'm not even going to throw the first George Bush in there, but really we looked at the presidencies. We really looked at Barack Obama being the first presidential candidate to really use social media to his advantage. And I think because of that, we've seen, hey, we're not just waiting for the news report to come on NBC, CBS, ABC, or CNN. We're looking at our phones first now to get news reports. So instantaneous news. So with that being said, through the 3 presidents that we've had with gun violence, unfortunately, like I said, I'm a Democrat, but it ain't looking too good with Joe right now. Things aren't getting better. It seems like they're getting worse. Every time we speak about it, or they make a comment on it, it seems like it's 2 more shootings. Just recently, last week in D.C., I just mentioned part of it, on 8th Street, which is a very up-and-coming corridor in Washington, D.C. 8th Street runs from northeast, on the backside of northeast D.C. into northwest. It connects to the back of Union Station, which is one of the busiest and most historic train stations in the country. Guy named Blake Bozeman stopped in for a birthday party at a hookah lounge on 8th Street, and somehow melee broke out. He got caught in a crossfire and he got killed. And from all accounts that we hear, this guy was an upstanding citizen. He is a former star basketball player at Morgan State University, HBCU up in Baltimore. He actually played for his father, Todd Bozeman, who has had a long history of NCAA and NBA jobs. His father was a coach at Cal back in the 1990s, before unfortunately being banned from college basketball for several years. He went and worked as a pro scout in the NBA for a couple of years, and he came back right after that ban from college basketball, which is a different story, different time we'll cover, and took Morgan State's program, where I think they had only won 4 games the year before he took over. And then over the next 9 seasons, they had an NIT appearance. They won 3 MEAC titles. They had their only 2 NCAA tournament appearances in school history while he was there. So literally in the 9 years or so he was there, every year was productive and on the upswing. I just found out his contract was not renewed after the 2019 season, which is very weird. He's currently an assistant at Rhode Island University. And it said something to the fact that's where he also played at. But anyway, he's the father of the victim, Blake Bozeman. So obviously Todd Bozeman, he's from Prince George's County, which is neighbors Washington, D.C. to the east side of Washington, D.C. The borders are connected. Todd Bozeman's from there. Blake Bozeman, his son, is from there. Upstanding citizen in the community, real estate agent. Said he did housing seminars, financial education for local community. Father of 3, dead at 31. Okay, dead at 31. How ironic is this? This happened the last week of September, last week. And the first week of October is homecoming week at Morgan State, his alma mater. And just, yesterday, 5 people shooting on campus, 5 people shot on campus, no fatalities, thank goodness. 4 people were students, FBI and local police and FBI, I think the alcohol, tobacco, firearms or something, also locked the campus down for a couple of hours. They finally gave the all clear signal at midnight. So I think that we talk about gun violence. It's not just happening in areas that have crime. It's happening in college campuses. It's happening in well-respected business corridors. It's happening in neighborhoods where people live. Where do we draw the line at? Come on, guys, give me some information on this one. I need some help too. We got to make sure we do something to at least comment on this situation. What we got, guys?
You know, Carlos, I've been trying to keep up with what I referred to this morning when I talked to Gary. I called this area the Wild Wild West. I think a lot of people, they don't want to know about it or they don't want to hear about it. But here in the area of Maryland where I live, I've been tracking probably the last 4 to 6 weeks. And we are having a minimum of 4 people killed each week. And in a couple of weeks, there have been 6 people. And, you know, the numbers may seem small, but if you multiply 6 times 4 weeks, that's 24 people in a month. You do that times 10 months, 240 and 280 if you do 12 months. But I think a lot of people don't pay attention to it. But give you an example. Saturday night, there's a place called Jimmy Paddock's over on 301, which is a main corridor in Maryland. And there was a lady inside. She was in the restaurant area. Jimmy Paddock's has 2 portions, a restaurant area and a bar area. 2 guys got into an argument in the bar area. It spilled on the outside. And as it seems to be now, whenever there's a disagreement, the only way you handle it is by pulling out a gun. The problem is most of these people who are pulling out guns and have gotten concealed weapon permits don't know how to shoot a weapon. And so what did he do? He killed the guy that he was having an argument with. The stray bullet went inside of Jimmy Paddock's. She's sitting down in the chair. She gets hit and she's dead. I think you talked about Morgan State. There was a shooting after the homecoming game. I saw that press conference this morning, and it was ironic. The news media was setting up, and somebody there was filming while they were setting up. And, you know, it really, it kind of, how do I want to put it, galls me, because whenever you have any of these shootings like this, you have what is called photo ops. You know, everybody wants to show up for the photo op. You know, the mayor always is going to show up. The police chief is going to show up. And then after shooting, they want to tell you how quick they responded, what they did. They locked down the campus. But the bottom line is, who did they catch? They didn't catch anybody. This incident that happened at Morgan State this morning, it concerns me because if you remember, possibly 30 days ago, we had a guy down in Florida who went into a dollar store and he killed 3 people with a semi-automatic rifle. But do you remember where he went first and couldn't get on campus? So, you know, when something like this happens, and then the president and the campus police and everything want to show up for the photo op, I get concerned because my question is, what did you have in place and what plans did you have to protect these people before this happened? And then the last thing I'll bring up is we have a lot of shootings in DC. I think DC this year already, and this is October, has had over 250 shootings of murders. The murders occur in a couple of areas of DC. And then you have a couple of other areas of DC that never has any crime. And you have to ask yourself why. And the question is really simple. The police presence there is twice the police presence in Southeast and Northeast DC. If you have someone killed in Georgetown, which I can't remember the last time I even heard of anybody being killed there, I think you'll see that crime that's going to be solved, and it's going to be solved very quickly. I guarantee you right now, and I don't have the figures, but in DC, out of probably 150 homicides this year, probably half of them are unsolved. And they always ask for the public's help in solving the crime. So when we don't solve a crime, we blame the public for not coming forward and helping us.
Wow, man, that's powerful. I mean, that it makes you think a lot. And you know what? We're talking about the actual murders with gun violence. We haven't even touched upon all the other crimes that are happening with handguns and weapons, etc. What, congressman from Texas, U.S. congressman from Texas in Northeast DC, about a mile from Capitol Hill, got carjacked
didn't he?
by 3, he said, kids. Yeah. And I'm going to commend him because he didn't say black, white, Latino. He just said 3 kids carjacked him at gunpoint, okay? And he said he saw the gun in the one that was in front of him. And I think he saw the gun in the hand of the one that was to his left or right. And he said he heard and felt the presence of someone behind him. And he was sure that he was holding a gun as well. Okay, he said he was a black belt, but he said he knows in a situation like this, which is very smart, to stay calm and simply give them what they want. So he lives to tell another day, tell his story another day. And they're still looking. They found his car, and they found his, I think, cell phone and laptop shortly after. So I think what happened was the kids stole the car. And I think they saw something that said U.S. Congress or something in the car that probably said, oh, this car is hot, we got to drop it. And they dropped it, pretty quickly afterwards. So I think when we talk about gun violence, we're talking about all the fatalities. What about, again, there's crimes being committed with handguns every single day. And I know it's only people who, the NRA and different organizations say, hey, man, the Second Amendment, right? Well, hey, we all cool with the Second Amendment. But it seems to be, is it just that many more people who are idiots today than before? Or do we just have better media coverage because we can have instantaneous news on our cell phone and we can create the news ourselves? What are you guys' takes on that?
Well, Carlos, with the carjackings, they've gotten out of hand. There was an incident, I think earlier part of last week, where 4 young men stole a car and had an accident and crashed, and the car exploded, and all 4 of them died. There was an incident, I think 6 months ago, up in Bethesda, where it was a Uber driver, and he was killed in a carjacking. But there was an arrest. The press didn't make a lot about it, but I read that there was an arrest probably a month or so ago, and there was some teens who had carjacked the car, and they could not help the police because apparently the way that it worked was they got a text message as to what kind of car was needed. They carjacked the car, and they would take the car to the Baltimore harbor, and they were told where to leave the car. And then they get paid through Cash App or Venmo. And so with this rash of carjackings, it seems like it's very organized. I don't know if you recall, we had I think on one of our podcasts last year, we talked about flash mobs. And this works kind of similar the same way. They get a text, and the text may go to 10 people and say, I'm looking for a BMW X5. And whoever gets the BMW X5, then you carry it to this location, you drop it off, and you get paid. So with these young kids, they don't even know who's hiring them. So they can't tell you anything.
How about that? How about that? That is crazy.
Yeah.
Man, well, I'll tell you this. Look, we can talk about this. I think the best thing we can do, right, to help out with this is just to make people aware of some of the facts that are going on with the shootings, with the other crimes, best practices. Like I said, that congressman from Texas, his name escapes me right now, but I will say he had the best practice. Stay calm, simply give them what they want. Okay.
Give them the car.
Don't look. Your hands are not going to catch a speeding bullet. It just won't happen. So that is the best practice. We can keep getting this information out. We can keep talking about it, and maybe we'll raise some awareness on this. But very sad situation. With that being said, since we talked about a member of Congress who had experienced some gun violence, even though it wasn't a fatality, which we're glad it wasn't. And he did the right thing. Couple things happening, man. What's happening with my man? Was it Mike McCarthy? Speaker of the House. He was
Kevin McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy.
I'm sorry, Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy. Former Speaker. Mike McCarthy is Dallas Cowboys, ain't it?
Yeah, you got Cowboy Nation on the brain.
Hey, look, I don't want to get the Dallas
I know
Cowboys
you got the
up,
Cowboys
man.
on your brain. Go ahead.
Kevin McCarthy, man. What's going on, man? I ain't never heard. Look, it's been so much Republican on Democratic arguments and debates going on, man, at the highest level. This is very rare to see Republican on Republican. They say, Kevin McCarthy, you got to go, brother. They done voted out the Speaker of the House for the first time in over 200 years history?
No, they made history.
They
made history with this.
What is happening, brothers? Talk to me.
Well, Kevin McCarthy, I think he committed the sin because he stepped across the aisle with the Democrats and tried to keep the government from shutting down. Now, you think about that. I don't like you, Carlos, but it looks like something is going to happen that's going to cause you a problem and cause me a problem. So I come across and say, Carlos, you know what? I don't like you, but let's get together and work this out so both of us can have a good day next week. And we do that, and my people get pissed off with me for doing that. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and we both laughed, but a lot of times you laugh about things, and it really has some importance. And he was saying, why don't we go and get some student governments from high school and put them up on Capitol Hill? They may be able to come together and make a decision and do something for the country. The problem with these idiots, and I call them idiots on Capitol Hill right now, is they can't come together and do anything. And believe it or not, the government is going to shut down in 40 days? Yeah. They left and went home today.
Yeah.
They're gone for the weekend today. Today is Wednesday. Yeah. And give you another example of how childish, and I say childish for the like of using a term that I would like to use. The interim person that stepped in for Kevin McCarthy, so he would be the interim House Speaker, this morning told Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer, who are two of the most senior people in Congress, that they had to vacate their offices because their offices was bigger than theirs. Now, how childish can that be?
Well,
you can get some college students and put them up there and say, "Hey, I guarantee you, they could come together and do something." This guy Matt Gaetz, he's what is the good word? He's problematic.
Diplomatic. It's very diplomatic on your
Yeah,
part.
he's problematic at best. And this guy, Jim
Jordan.
Jim Jordan, he's more than problematic. And he's already announced that he's running for Speaker of the House.
Yeah, he don't even know what he don't know. That's how dangerous he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that a few weeks ago sent Fonnie Willis a letter and was demanding some stuff from her down in Georgia on the Trump thing. And she politely told him that going to law school at night, apparently he didn't learn what he needed to learn.
Right.
But he had no standing in a state case. So I'm telling you, man, we're in some dire straits. And I guess people just don't realize it. And the mega side, they don't realize it because they listen to whatever's being said. But it's going to be interesting to see what happened in 40 days, whether the government is going to shut down or not, or whether they're going to kick this can. I call it kicking the can down the road for another 60 days or whatever. I mean, this is a group of immature people on Capitol Hill. I don't think it's ever been this bad.
Mr. Bob and Gary, I can tell you this, man. If you're from if you're from Hollywood, maybe you want to be an actor one day. If you're from Dallas, maybe you want to own your own ranch one day. If you're from DC, like me, being born in DC and originally living in DC and being from the DMV area, I don't want to be a politician. Just don't want it, man. Don't want it. Don't want it. It's like the worst thing that you can be is just to argue back and forth. They get paid a pretty good salary to argue back and forth and get nothing done. I don't know how many times Bill Clinton went through his impeachment. Donald Trump went through his impeachment twice, and they still finished serving their presidential terms. How much money did we waste on impeachment trials and proceedings just to embarrass people and argue and go back and forth, and nothing happened? They both finished their presidential terms. How much money do we spend? I mean, let's think about that, right? And we get very little back from the money we spend to pay their salaries on Capitol Hill. They can say what they want. I think we get more money back from the military, from the generals and the people who defend the country, because we can at least sleep at night, with the exception of that awful day back in September 11th in 2001. Other than that, we sleep pretty good in this country at night, okay? But I guess the military people, you compare their salaries to the politicians, and it ain't gonna measure up. And I guess we go back and think about all the things we value in life, and we value education. We can't pay teachers enough. We value healthcare, but out of all the people working at hospital, only doctors make money. Everybody else is struggling to get by. Hey, if you're a police officer, maybe you make a decent living, but you ain't gonna get rich, and you don't know if you're coming home at night. It ain't right, man. Like, I think my favorite comedian, Chris Rock, said a lot of things in life just ain't right. And right now, being a politician on Capitol Hill, it just ain't right. So,
Carlos, the problem with being a politician is not bad, but it's bad when you have small little cells of politicians who want to do things, and it's not good for the country. The Democrats, and I've said this before, the Democrats, they had a certain thing that they wanted to do, and they didn't care about the government being shut down. The Republicans wanted the government to operate. Then on the other side, you had a small group of Republicans who said, hey, we don't want you talking to the Democrats, and they didn't care about the government being shut down. So you got a big group of Democrats who can give a shit about the government being shut down. A small group of Republicans, Kevin McCarthy, who is by no means anybody who I would vote for, but Kevin McCarthy said, "Hey guys, you know, conservative Republicans, we need to kind of come to some type of agreement and work out something." So what did he do? He stepped across the aisle, gave the Democrats what they wanted so that the government wouldn't shut down. And then you got his boys behind him said, "Oh, so you did that? We're going to remove you," knowing all the Democrats are going to vote to remove him. And so then you get 6 Republicans jump on the Democrats bandwagon, and he's gone. It's a group of childish folks who have their own little caucuses and have their own little agendas, and that each one of them are fighting for positions to try to control something. It's like a clique in high school. That's basically what it is.
It's almost like the kids. You got Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Those are the kids in high school or junior high school that used to just eat glue. You know?
Eat glue.
Yeah, they just eat glue, man. They don't even know what they don't know. They're not doing the work of the people. That's all I got to say.
Well, man, look, both of you guys, man, Gary and Mr. Spivey, we have talked about the wonderful things that happen on Capitol Hill so often. Come on, man. Let's talk about something that's more enlightening. What we got on Donald Trump?
A gag order.
The only thing I got on him is he got his hands full with a judge in New York. And it's not even related to one of his 91 or 90 charges. He's in a civil trial in New York, and he's got a judge who has already ruled that he's got to pay. So now they're just working on how much he has to pay. And this guy, you talk about the people on Capitol Hill being childish and the congressmen and senators. This guy's unbelievable. I mean, you're on trial for inflating the value of your property, and you come out on a lunch break in front of the news media and you inflate the values even higher.
Even higher, yeah. He's unhinged.
He's an idiot. Literally, he's an idiot. And so on top of that, he's got his own little, his own little Twitter.
Truth Social.
Truth Social. He puts a picture of the judge's law clerk on his website with Chuck Schumer and says she's Chuck Schumer's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Oh, yeah.
And says she was Chuck Schumer's girlfriend.
And she's sitting in court.
And she's sitting in court because she's the judge's law clerk.
Yeah.
And the judge apparently got wind of this during the lunch break. He comes back in. He is furious. And so he put a gag order on him and ordered that it be removed immediately. And this morning, and I don't want to monopolize things, but this morning I read something that 3 of the senators or congressmen have suggested Donald Trump to be the next Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House, oh yeah.
And they said that the Speaker of the House does not have to come from within the body. And so they are suggesting that they would even consider Donald Trump as Speaker of the House. And his niece, Mary Trump, who has a podcast, and I believe she's a psychologist.
She is.
She made a statement, and she said that Donald Trump would never accept a position of Speaker of the House because he would have to show up for work every day.
That's right.
And the Speaker of the House has to work. You can't do the bullshit that he did while he was in office for 4 years, which is nothing.
Right.
But can you believe that? And I mean, this just goes back. Look at what we're piling on. Idiots kick the Speaker of the House out. Idiots can't come to a decision on funding the government. And now idiots say, maybe Donald Trump would be a good Speaker of the House. How stupid can you get?
Sniffing and eating glue.
Hey, there was a great quote from a classic movie that says, "Stupid is as stupid does."
Yes, that's right.
How about that one? Come on, man. Look, we got to talk about something positive here. At this point, I just want to send a shout out to Travis Kelce for dating one of the most popular women in the entire world. He is helping to increase NFL ticket sales, merchandise, and viewing. So Travis Kelce, hey man, I ain't mad at you, brother. You single, you ain't married. Do your thing, brother. Go ahead and have what's that, Taylor Swift up in the games, and what they got, the Swifties, and people coming now to catch a peek at Taylor Swift instead of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. What's going on, guys? What's happening with that? What's going on? What's happening, man?
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
It is truly amazing just how crazy this society has gotten, but it's an advent of social media. That's all I'll say.
She's a rock star.
So I guess we'll have 2 men of the year this year. One will be Travis Kelce for increasing the NFL attendance at Kansas City, and Dion for increasing the attendance at Colorado. I think that they're sold out for the whole season, and he's bringing in 60,000 people a game, whether they win or lose.
Yep.
Well, you know what? That's two very interesting topics, right? We're talking about viewership, right? And all right, so Dion got off to a hot start in college, and he's had a couple, he had a couple stumbles. I predicted those stumbles that Oregon and what was it, the USC, that those would be losses. He'd be 3-2, and it came true. So, I'm not bragging anything, but I'm just saying. And if you look at the NFL, right? So, but Dion you're right, is bringing the viewership, right? He's making it fun to watch football because you never know what's going to happen. Okay, I think that's what people like. People like the element of surprise. Do you like watching a TV show where you know what's going to happen, or do you like watching one of those TV shows where what was it, like 24 back in the day, where like,
oh boy, Jack Bauer.
Oh wow, I'm like, oh my God. I think Jack Bauer even shot up heroin in one scene. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. he can't do that. What's going on? I was like, oh my God. So I think we like drama to the point where we don't know what the heck is going to happen. We don't know what the heck is going to happen. And that's the element of surprise that I think people like. So I think they like that with Dion watching his teams. Okay. Oregon, hey man, give props to Oregon. They came in and handled the business. USC really handled the business. The game really wasn't. I think when I turned it on, it was 48-28. And I know Dion came back, was it 48-41? So the game really wasn't as tight as it looked, but they came back and made a game out of it. Okay, but I think for the rest of the season, I think that teams are going to be coming for Dion in college. I still think he has a chance to win out. I think 2 games you have to really look at down the stretch, whether they're going to be, if it's a 12-game season, I would think I was predicting 10-2 or 9-3. And I think that third loss could possibly come with either UCLA or Utah. I think Utah is ranked 10th. I don't know if UCLA is ranked, but UCLA is always going to put up a top game. So if I had to bet money on it, I would probably say Utah would be the third loss. And I think he can win out the rest. But that UCLA game is going to be a really good game. But again, the element of surprise, it makes college football, it's like must-see TV, right? And then if you look at the NFL, what I'm seeing in the NFL in comparison to college football, you tell me if I'm right on this. There's a lot of lopsided scores. We had a game where it was 70-20. Come on, man. Miami beat Denver 70-20 2 weeks ago. The New York Giants, I'm not even sure what happened. Did they lose the first game of the season 40-0? And they lost, I think they scored like 15 points. They've been outscored like 94-15 or something crazy in the first 4 games. Like, what is going on? I want to see a competitive game. I want to see a 35-34. Give me a last-second touchdown pass. Let me get a last-second 60-yard field. Come on, man. I don't want to see even the games that have been close in the NFL this season, where Washington was losing to Denver 21-3.
Yeah.
So we only got a half of football. So we got a terrible half of football from Washington. Then the second half, we got a pretty terrible half of football from Denver because they let Washington come back and win. You can say the second half was obviously better because they threw a Hail Mary and actually caught it at the end, but couldn't convert on a 2-point convert. But what the point I'm trying to make is the games aren't competitive from start to finish. The entire game's either blowouts or one half is completely blowout and one team's trying to come back. So, I mean, it's good if you're like a Cowboys fan right now, right, Mr. Spivey? I mean, if your team is winning, it's good. But if you're a football fan, man, I want to see some competitive action, man. I'm even at the point of, can I write a letter to the NFL and say, look, man, we need better parity. I believe that's what it's called, parity. Okay?
Parity, yep.
We need some parity. Can we have the teams, the bottom half of the 32 teams, can the bottom 16, now check this out. This would really throw some people off, right? Can the first round, if you fall in the bottom 16, instead of having the top, the bottom teams will get the top six, the bottom 16 teams will get the top 16 picks. To create parity faster in the NFL, I would like to see this. This will never happen. It's like when the comedians say this will never happen, but this was like what I would like to see. If the bottom 16, get back-to-back first-round draft picks, you're talking about parity coming back. Back-to-back first-round draft picks. So the whole first round would be the bottom 16 teams picking twice. And then you go into round 2 with everybody else picking once. I think that would bring some teams back because we're definitely missing parity at this point. I mean, Buffalo beat Washington, what was it, 37-3? And Washington just kicked the field goal just so they wouldn't get shut out. Come on, man. It used to be Any Given Sunday. LL Cool J made a movie with Jamie Foxx on Any Given Sunday.
Yep.
It looks like it ain't Any Given Sunday. It's just a wing and a prayer. That's what the new title is, a wing and a prayer. We don't know what the heck's going to happen. So come on, guys. What you guys' thoughts on the NFL, man, with some of that parity? What's going on?
Carlos, you sound like you begging for some consistency.
I need some consistency, baby.
And it's just,
I want to sit on the edge of my seat for 60 minutes, not for 10 minutes in the fourth quarter when somebody's trying to come back or just trying not to get a zero. What's up?
Well, I think you had this past week, 3 games to win in the overtime this past week, but I agree with you. It's the craziest thing in the world. My team, Dallas, went into New York and just stomped them. And I mean, give you a prime example. Dallas goes in and beat them, 40-0? What is it, Miami? They put up 70 points on Denver. But think about it. Dallas, 40-0. The next week, got their ass handed to them by Arizona. Miami, they put up 70 points. And I think the coach did not kick a field goal near the end because he didn't want to blow out, I think, history or something. But they put up 70 points against Denver. What did they do? Got their ass handed to them by Buffalo. So what you're looking for is some consistency. There is no consistency. And, I don't believe every week I'm kind of defending Washington some way or another. But I was reading where they are talking about what happened to Riverboat Ron in last week's game. Why didn't he go for 2 instead of kicking a field goal and tying the game? And they went into overtime and lost. Now, think about this. He kicked the field goal to get the game, I think, 28-28. Went into overtime and lost. What would have been the headlines if he had gone from 2 and not converted?
You are 150% correct, sir.
Society today has gotten to the point you can't satisfy nobody, no matter what you do. Right. My mother used to always say to me when I was a kid, people are going to always resist change. But this has gone beyond resisting change. You go for 2, you don't get it, you're a bum. You go for 1, which is the sure thing, go into overtime, get a kickoff, and it's just like the game just started from 0-0. then you a bum because you didn't go for two, and you could have won the game. So what you're looking for is consistency, and this is the worst season I think I've ever seen with scores being up and down. I mean, Denver got stomped by Miami, 70 to what, 20 or something like that, and then Washington was killing them, and what did they do? They come back, and then they win the game.
You win the game.
It's insane.
Well, I'll tell you this. Maybe we've commercialized the game to the point where players just aren't up on certain nights. Growing up, there was only one primetime game. It was Monday Night Football.
Monday night.
That was like a mini Super Bowl. Everybody, those games used to go, the majority of them. I'm going to go out on a limb and say 75 to 80% of those games were close games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that one team would score and the other team would score, and it would come down to whoever scored last in the fourth quarter. If you had the ball last in the fourth quarter, somebody would come out and kick the winning field goal or throw the winning touchdown pass. Monday Night Football was a Super Bowl every week. Now we got Sunday Night Football. We got Monday Night Football. I'm sorry, some weeks we got two games on Monday Night Football. Now we got Thursday night game, and guess what? Most of them stink.
Yeah.
Most of them stink. I've gotten to the point where, look, I'm just looking for a competitive game. I really am. I think I'm better off going to a sports bar and just looking at all the TVs, and whichever one got the closest game, I'm just going to go pivot to that direction.
Well, Carlos,
man, it's crazy.
That two games on Monday nights, and now they got, I think, two or three games across the pond on Sunday mornings. A lot of this, and my son-in-law, I was giving him the blues on Sunday because I told him, you drank that Kool-Aid. A lot of this is trying to force people to get the NFL Sunday ticket.
Yeah.
In order to watch all these games. So if you put two games on Monday night and say Washington is playing and Dallas is playing, and I want to see Dallas, but I want to see what's going on with Washington, the only way I'm going to do it is do what? Spend $300 on the ticket. So, like you said, a lot of this is merchandising, and it's gone commercial. My wife said to me the other day, and she's a huge football fan. She said, why do I have to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning to look at a game in England? Why the hell are they in England?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. And NFL, but it's marketing. They're trying to make money.
Trying to expand. Yeah, global.
I think the bottom line is this is my prediction. I think over the next 10 years, we're going to see two teams in London, an AFC and an NFC team, two teams that play in the same stadium, similar to what the Giants and Jets do, what the Chargers and Rams do. And they're going to be part of the NFC East and the AFC East. Okay. So that automatically gives them two home games, against each other. And actually, take it back. I don't know was it 17 game season now? Technically, it's still 20 because you still have the preseason games. So you get 10 home games unless you sacrifice. Well, they're in London, so they wouldn't. So you get technically 10. A combination of regular season and home and preseason, you get 10 games. Okay. So what they're going to do, I think that they'll have the two teams there, and those two teams will play each other probably once or twice a year. This is to save on the airfare. They'll be part of the NFC East. So when they fly over, one will fly to New England, one will fly to Buffalo, one will fly to the New York Jets. Miami will probably be the furthest flight. And then with what was that in the NFC East? Who's it? Well, I guess the NFC East would be Washington, Philadelphia, New York Giants, and Dallas would be the furthest flight for London if they did that. So I think that's what they're probably leaning towards. But you're right. I mean, it is a pain in the butt to get up and watch a football game at 9 o'clock. Now, keep this in mind. When we have 1 o'clock games here, there are 10 o'clock games in LA.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
They're probably more used to it. We are not. We want a 1 o'clock game, we want a 4 o'clock game. But I remember, little fun fact about me. I had my first birthday. I'm born in Washington, D.C. Had my first birthday in Los Angeles, California. My parents were young, and mom was a nurse, and believe it or not, before Uber and Lyft, and before the country changed drastically, there were black cab drivers, and my
father was one.
Oh yeah.
Our family car was a taxi.
Which sounds crazy to people today if you tell them that, right? That's right.
Yeah.
So my parents felt like they could get a job anywhere. My mom's gonna get a job in the hospital as a nurse, which she did. She went to go work in UCLA Hospital, and my father became a cab driver in Los Angeles. And they went out there. We lived for a year, and I had my first. And they took a baby out there, right? I had just been born. They took me on, I think, a Greyhound. They didn't even fly. They took me on a Greyhound across country.
Took a week.
I lived in LA.
To get there.
He did something. My mom told me she walked me in the park. She would take me on long walks, and the Coliseum was not that far. So she walked me through the parking lot of the Coliseum and things like that. So we live in that neighborhood. And I can't remember anything. This is all what I've been told. And that one of the things my father would say was that it was crazy. He said, games are on at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. NFL games were on at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And he said that was just so crazy to him because he had, the 1 p.m. game was fine, but that's what we see as a 4, right? They say, right. So, but yeah, he said it was just a total different vibe out in California. So maybe they're accepting the 9 a.m. games in England if they're, they used to 10 a.m. But I take that back. If it's a 9 a.m. game here on the East Coast, that means it's a 6 a.m. game in Los Angeles.
That's right.
I just thought about that. So crazy. Yeah, this is going to be a crazy type of an expansion. I'm just, because what a 9 a.m. game to us, they're 5 hours in front of us, right? So I think that's a 2 p.m. game over in London. I could be wrong. But
it's typically 5 or 6 hours, depending on Eastern Standard or daylight savings.
Yeah. So I think
think about your upcoming. Think about your upcoming Sunday. You're gonna get up, watch a 9 a.m. game. I think it's Jacksonville. You're gonna watch a 9 a.m. game. You're gonna watch a 1 p.m. game. You're gonna watch a 4:30 game. And you're going to watch an 8 o'clock game.
Woo! That's a lot of advertising money.
You have a beer for breakfast. A
lot of hey, look, a lot, man. Well,
and I agree with you 100%. What they are doing, and they did this 2 years in a row. They're setting up for an NFL team across the pond.
Oh, without a doubt.
And they're setting it up. And I'm sure the owners are not going to have a problem with it.
No.
Because I think we mentioned in our last podcast last week when we were talking about some of the racism in the NFL, I think we were talking about at the end of the year, each of the owners got $237 million.
Oh, yeah.
So them greedy son of a guns, they're not going to have no problem bringing in another NFL team because that just means at the end of the year, instead of $237 million, it'd probably be $275 million.
More money.
That's exactly right. Donald Trump used to have that song in his show, which was what was it? The Apprentice.
The Apprentice.
It was the OJ song.
Yeah, money.
Money. So that's the only language they understand.
Yeah.
Wow. Woo, Gary, I think we covered several topics tonight, man. You got anything else before we sail on?
Man, sail on. You bringing up Lionel Richie and the Commodores.
That's right, baby. Come on. You talking about the OJs. I think I'm more of a Commodores man. I was a little kid when they was kicking it, but I forever fell in love with Brick House. My parents looking at me as a little kid talking about what you know about that. I said, I don't know, but I like the music.
There you go. Hey, man, I'm good. We leave it at that with the Commodores and Brick House. And maybe we'll have to do a music kind of show one day. And we have some music trivia or bring on one of these national artists. I don't know if we can get Taylor Swift, but we can get somebody on. Maybe Sugar Bear from EU.
Hey, if we don't get Sugar Bear, I got another guy who I think will come on. He has had 2 hit songs, and he's always in the limelight, and he's always looking to do a show. Come on, man, get Brandy's brother Ray J. Ain't that Brandy's brother?
Yeah. I walked into that. We walked into that one, man.
Well, I look at it like this: we got Cornel West.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people can't get. So I think we can get anybody we want.
All right.
Oh yeah.
And if we want Taylor Swift, we between the three of us, we know enough people that somebody's
Somebody's
can
close
get a
to
call in. Because Mr. Johnson has a show called Calculations. And he's had some top-notch people on the Calculations show. Melga Moore, the guy from Kool and the Gang.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you recall, Mr. Cornel West is heavy into music.
Oh yeah.
And he's did a couple of CDs with some heavyweights. So
Oh my goodness.
if we want Taylor Swift on here, we might have to go through some hoops and twists and turns. But
we're gonna holler at my man Travis Kelce. Kelce, make it happen. Come on, man. Come on, Kelce. Come on, Kelce.
Who happens to have his special or docu-series on Netflix.
And Travis and his brother, they have a podcast.
Yeah.
A weekly podcast. Yeah. And it's become very successful.
Yeah. All right, fellas. We done twisted it around. We're gonna come up with something next week. Probably before the end of the year, we probably should close out one of our shows with another version of Calculations. What would you do?
Woo!
We bring some of the ladies on because right now I saw a post on Facebook with our friend Janice where someone had referenced that show and about how a man coming home should fear for his life. And somebody on the post said, yeah, he should fear for his life because, coming home, a lot of things can happen to you outside and for. I had to add to the post. I said, no, you need to watch the show. She was saying that the man, had to fear for his life coming home at 4 a.m. That's the difference. You coming in her house, you better fear for your life coming home at 4 a.m.
I heard an old song the other day. I hadn't heard it in a long time. And I cannot think of the title of it or who sings it, but the guy was talking about how, he would come home and his wife, and you, Gary, you probably know the song, and how his wife would ask him, are you hungry or whatever? And that persisted, but in the end of the song, he was in the hospital. And he said he had basically been cut from asshole to appetite. And so you can only do that for so long. Sooner or later, she's had enough. I can't think of the name of the song, but it's one of the old songs.
I heard a title for one of the old songs. We can go out on this. Guy said, my wife left me. My wife left me, went out with my best friend, and I miss him.
All right.
And on that note, everybody, we are the Thought Brothers, and we are out of here. We'll see you next week.
Have a good rest of the week.
All right.